Welcome to the video lecture on types of scales. In this lecture, we are going to cover definition of the scale, methods of representation of the scale, classification of maps on the basis of scale. Before going into directly into the scale, right now we are discussing what is map. The map is a representation of part of the earth surface. If you see, all of you aware about the map. Map shows only the part of the earth's surface. It will not possible to show the whole world on a map. All of you aware that all of you know that the photographs you have taken, the image you have taken from the photographs and your actual what you are. It means, for example, your height is 5.5 centimeters and in your photographs it is coming, it is in centimeters. Okay. It is coming in the same manner. The map represent the part of earth surface using the one of the entity, we can call it as scale. Scale is the measuring unit of the map. Scale is the measuring unit of the map. For example, the distance between two places, we can measure at 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers on a ground. This 20 and 30 kilometers we cannot directly put on the map, 20, 30, 40 kilometers map we cannot do. Further, the concept of scale with a map is makes you very handy, so that you can take that map with that scale and you can utilize it for your n number of purpose. For example, map scale, by the definition map scale is a ratio of, it is a ratio between the 2 points, the distance measured on the 2 points on a map and the distance measured on 2 points on a ground. We can call it as a map scale. For example, if you see this map is a Telangana map. It is showing the previous districts, 10 districts. In map, the distance between Hyderabad and Nalgonda, is measured with a scale is 3 centimeters, but the actual distance between Hyderabad and Nalgonda is 120 kilometers. To measure the map scale of this map, we can use the formula. What is the map scale formula is the 3 cm map distance by ground distance, distance of 2 points on a map by distance between those 2 points on a ground. The distance between 2 points, that is Hyderabad and Nalgonda, is 120 kilometers. On a map is 3 centimeters, on a ground is 120 kilometers. Just you put on a map scale 3 centimeters by 120 kilometers. Then the map scale will be the 3 centimeter is equal to 120 kilometers, then 1 centimeter is equal to 40 kilometer. It means 1 centimeter on a ground, on a map you measure 1 centimeter you measure on a map, it shows the 40 kilometers on a ground. For example, the distance between the Hyderabad and Adilabad on a map is showing as a 5 kilometers, on a map is showing as a 5 centimeters. Then the actual distance between the Hyderabad and the Adilabad is 5 into 40, 200 kilometers. That is the calculation methods. Okay. 1 centimeter is equal to 40 kilometers on man, means the distance between the Hyderabad and Adilabad on a map is 5 centimeters, on a ground is 5 into 40 actual distance. You can say, using this method you can calculate the map scale. The map scale, the methods of representation of map scale are different. We have basically 3 representation of map scales. One is the simple statement scale, representative fraction, third one is a graphical scale. The simple scale, the simple scale statement scale means, just now we have seen that 1 centimeter is equal to 40 kilometers, 1 centimeter is equal to 50 kilometers. Just you see this map. In a map, in a statement scale, it is showing that 1 centimeter is equal to 40 kilometers. What it means 1 centimeter on a map, whatever the distance you can measure 1 centimeter on a map represent 40 kilometers on the ground. By using this method, you can represent the scale on it. 1 centimeter is a simple statement scale. In this method of representation of the scale on a map is in the form the very simplicity of this method is that there is not any type of calculation as well as drawing. The scale is simple written on the map. Then the disadvantage of this scale is that the original drawing to be reduced or enlarged, on reduction and enlargement the given statement would become inappropriate. Then this is the simple statement scale. Next, second one is the method of representation is the representative fraction method of representation of scale. In this method, it shows the relationship between the map distance and the corresponding ground distance in the same units of length. This can be expressed as a representative factor is equal to map distance by ground distance. If you see this, in this map it is shown that representative 1 is to 4 lakhs. What it means? 1 unit you measure on a map, it is a 4 lakhs units you measure on a ground. This is the method of representation. In this you will find that numerator and the denominator. The numerator value always 1 and the denominator varies. The numerator is always 1 and denominator is varies. In this method, the numerator is always 1 and the denominator is either 1 or more than 1, but the both values are in the same unit of measurement. For example, if the representative fraction is to be 1 is to 1000, this means that 1 unit on a map represent 1000 of the same unit on the ground. This unit may be in inch or centimeters or any other unit. For example, if it is in a map like this 1 is to 1 lakh, if I say 1 centimeter, the distance between Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University and the Osmania University we can measure in a 1 is to 40,000 scale. As a 1 is to 40,000 scale means it will show that the distance 1 unit of measurement on a map is equal to 4 lakhs units on the ground. For example, if it is a 1 centimeter on a map, it is a 4 lakh centimeters on a ground. Just now we have discussed the distance between Ambedkar Open University and Osmania University is measured on a map is 1 centimeter. Then the ground on a ground the distance is 4 lakh centimeters using this representative factor, that is 1 lakh 40. In this, the merit of this method is that one can easily understood this method. Why? Because you are finding this only the ratio values, there is no units. You can put there centimeters, you can put there millimeters, you can put there kilometers, whatever units you want to measure you can put. It is a dimensionless. What it means? There is no units, but it is represented in a RF value. Then coming to the third method of representation of the scale is, that is a graphical representation. In a scale 1, that is the statement scale and the RF scale, you have seen that the written values 1 is to 1000, 1 centimeter is equal to 30 centimeter in a statement scale and 1 is to 10,000. Whereas, in the graphical scale you will see a line, okay, linear line is drawn, on the basis of this linear line, your scale is drawn. Then that is why we are using the term graphics. Here we are using, we are not using any values, any statements, just you are writing, while you are drawing a line, on that line you have given the values, on the basis of that it is measured. If you see this, one of the method, the graphical scale are constructed from the statement and the ratio scale. From where it is constructed? It is constructed from the statement and the ratio scale. In this method, distance is represented graphically, and the method distance is represented graphically along a line, which is graduated uniformly. The merit of this scale is that the scale is proportionally, when there is an enlargement, when there is a reduction in the size and size of the map, the scale need not to be changed. The scale need not to be changed. Whereas, in the case of a representative factor and the statement scale, when there is a enlargement and reduction, we have to change the scale. Whereas, in the graphical scale, you need not to change the scale, and every time when there is an enlargement and when there is a reduction in the scale. We have also have graphical different methods of representation of graphical scale. They are plane scale, comparative scale, diagonal scale. The plane scale, comparative scale and diagonal, these are the graphical representation of scale on a map. Plane scale means only the one graphical line is drawn, on that the measurement is shown just like this. Just see this map. In a map, this is the map of the Greater Hyderabad. You are seeing the map. One is the scale is represented at the in a linear line in kilometers. This is the plane scale or simple place scale. Then in a plane scale, maximum of 2 units distances can be shown at a time. Generally, in a plane scale, you will see maximum in 2 distance, that is kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters. Only these 2 lines, only 2 units can be measured in a plane scale. It is a very simple one, and you can very useful of this. And the next scale is the we have comparative scale. It is based on the plane scale only, but it will compare both 2 scales. If you just see this map, then you come to know what is comparative scale. If you see this in a comparative scale, you are measuring the only 2 units, that is miles, furlongs, kilometers and hectometers. You see this, the 0 point of the 2 scale, the comparative scale is same, so that you can make the comparison. What of the advantage of the comparative scale is that it will also measure the 2 units of distances as a primary as well as the secondary scale division. This is one of the advantage of this scale is that you can compare your values with the already existing values, and you can make use of this scale. Then coming to the another scale is diagonal scale, where the scale will be look like this. This is the diagonal scale. Here you can see the units are 3. You are measuring the 3 units, that is miles, furlongs and yards. Whereas, in the case of simple scale and the comparative scale, you are measuring only the 2 units, whereas in this case you are measuring the 3 units. Diagonal scale provides much more accuracy than the plane scale, because it can represent 3 multiple units, that is meters, centimeters, everything else. This is about the diagonal scale. Then these are the methods of representation of the scale. These are the methods of representation of the scale on a map. One is a simple scale, second one is a comparative scale, third one is a diagonal scale. These are the methods of representation of graphical scale representation. Okay. Basically, the scales, types of scales in map representation is, we have basically 3 types. One is, first scale is the statement scale, next one is a representative factor, third one is a graphical scale. Again, in graphical scale we have 3 types, that is plane scale, comparative scale and diagonal scale. Then the maps also, on the basis of this scale, the maps also classified. On the basis of this scale also, we are classifying maps. Depending upon the scale, we are classifying the map. The classification of map depending upon the scale will be like we can classify it as a large scale map or small scale map. We can classify it as a large scale map and the small scale map. A large scale and the small scale maps are the two types of maps we can classify on the basis of this scale. Just see this two images, then we will go for analysis. This is the map of Atlas map covering whole world, and this is a map of one of the village map showing the ownership information. What you see here is the information content you see here. In your Atlas map, what you are seeing is you are seeing only the administrative boundaries and boundaries of the continents, boundaries of the different countries. Whereas, in the case of this cadastral map, if you see this, we can call it the cadastral map or ownership map. Here you are seeing that the survey numbers, who is the owner, who is left is there, right is there, and some of the information. By seeing these two maps, we can analyze that the information, the content on the map, the information and the content whatever available on a map is varying, whereas in the case of Atlas map you are finding only boundaries of the countries, whereas in the cadastral map we are finding only the in detail information. On the basis of this, the information content on a map is basically based on the scale just now we have discussed. If it is we are classified the scales, we are classified the maps on the basis of scale is a large scale map and the small scale map. Large scale map means the information it will show the large scale map means it will show the smaller area. Large scale map means it will show the smaller area. Smaller area means it may be of your city, it may be of your town, it may be of your village, but the details available on a map is very more. In a city map you can find the various hospitals, you can find the hospitals, schools, road network and the railway stations and the housing pattern, parks, recreation, all you can see on a city map, and the details of availability of the city map is very high. That is why we can call it as a large scale map. Large scale map means the information content on a map is more and it is showing the very lesser area. It may be of a square kilometer, it may be a 5 square, 10 square, 30 square or 50, 100 square kilometers. Whereas, in the case of small scale maps, if you are seeing only the larger area, in a small scale map you are seeing only the larger area, but the information content on this map is very less, as the case of an Atlas you have seen only the administrative boundaries, you have not seen any district, any capitals of the city, capitals of the nation, capitals of the state are not visible on it. Why? Because it is a small scale map. In a small scale map what you see is the information is very less content and the area covered is more and the information content is very less. On this basis we can call it as a large scale map, small scale and the large scale. Just going by the definition, we can call it as a large scale map. We have called on the basis of a representative factor, we can call it as a large scale or small scale. In a large scale map, the representative factor of the scale is varies between 1:20,000, 1:30,000, 1:2,000, 1:5,000. Whereas, in the case of small scale map, the representative fraction, that is RF value, varies between 1 lakh, 1:60,000, 70,000, it will varies. The RF value will be lesser, it is a large scale map. RF value will be the more, it may be called at a small scale maps. The information content on these maps will varies depending upon your scale. You can see that this is a large scale map, that is why we can call it as a village. This is a cadastral map, it is available in your district MRO office, where the ownership of that land is available in a cadastral map. Ownership of the is available on cadastral map, whereas in the case of atlas map, it is only showing your district, it is showing only the demarcation, the administrative boundaries or political boundaries of the nations. The scale, the large scale and the small scale varies on the basis of scale, that is representative factor. But if you see, when you are comparing with the city map and the village map, when you are comparing with the city map and the village map, in that case the village map will be the small scale map and the large scale map, and your city map will be the small scale map. It will varies depending upon your project, your needs. We may reclassify it as a large scale and small scale, but on the basis of all these are done based on your scale only. Finally, we can say that scale is the most important factor which decide what should be there on the map. What should be there on the map? It will decide what is there on the map. The purpose of the scale, the purpose of the scale is to measure the linear distances only, neither the distances. All the locational apps, Ola, Uber, Zomato, Swiggy and the Google Maps, it is showing you a direction based on you go towards this direction 5 meters, 2 meters, 3 meter left, take right, all based on your map scale only. There is no map scale, there is no direction, there is no locational analysis, there is no your comfort services is available, locational services will not be available. Yes, the scale is making as most important unit in the utmost important in the selection of this map. Okay. This concluding our lecture, what we have discussed up to now, just taking a summary of this, we have discussed what is scale. Scale is the relationship between the map and the map distance and the ground distance. On the basis of this scale, the methods of representation of the scale are statement scale and representative factor, and third one is the graphical scale. In a graphical scale also we have three different representations are there: plane scale, comparative scale, and third one is the diagonal scale. Whereas in the plane scale we can measure only 2 units of measurements, kilometers and the meters, whereas in the case of diagonal scales we can measure kilometers, meters and the centimeters. Then on the basis of the scale we can classify the maps are the large scale map and the small scale map. Large scale maps are the maps which show the smaller area with greater details, whereas small scale maps are the maps which show the larger area with lesser details. Okay. These are the importance, and the map, one of the foremost thing is that map scale is the one of the unit which is decided what should be there on the map, and how to measure the linear distance in map is based on this map scale only. Till now we have discussed what is map scale, and what are the different methods of representation of map scales. Map is the representation of the part of the earth surface, all of you know, but this surface will be represented using map scales. Map scale, we can say that the distance between 2 points on a surface, distance between 2 points on a map, and the distance between 2 points on a ground. Is the map scale is a relationship between what is what are the content available on the information on the map and how it is related to the real world. It is the map scale. The map scale representation, we can represent scale on a map in using three methods. One is the statement scale, a representative factor, that is RF. Third one is the graphical scale. In a representative in a statement scale, we are just giving one statement, just like 1 centimeter is equal to 5 kilometers, 1 centimeter is equal to 3 kilometers. What it means? 1 centimeter on a map is equal to represent 5 centimeters on a ground. Whereas, in RF representative factor 1 is to 10,000 means 1 centimeter on a map is equal to 20 centimeters on a ground, or it may be of 1 millimeter on a map is equal to 20,000 millimeters on a ground. Whereas, in the case of graphical scale, we have three types of method of representation of graphical scale. One is plane scale, comparative scale and diagonal scale. The plane and the comparative scale, we can only measure only 2 units, like kilometers and meters. Whereas, in the case of diagonal scale, we can measure accurately 3 units, that is kilometers, meters and centimeters, as the miles, furlongs, yards, we can measure all this. And we can classify the map on the basis of scale, that is the large scale map and small scale map. In the large scale map, you will see the area will be very less and information available on the map is very high, very more. Whereas, in the case of small scale map, area covered is more and the information content on the map is very less. In this manner, the maps are assisting all of you in our daily life from your locational analysis, that is your distance it is showing on the Ola, Uber and the Zomato, Swiggy, whatever the distances measured on your maps, that is you are showing the digital map is based on scale only. Yes, the scale is the most important aspect for our measurement of linear distances, and these are the very important for the information content, what should be there on the map and what shouldn't be there, and the interpretation of this map is done using scale only. Without map, we can call it that a sketch, means from that you cannot measure anything else. The map, that is why we can call map is the utmost and the decision maker for the preparation of the map. While making any maps, scale makes an important role, and please consider the consideration of this scale will make a difference. Okay. Thank you for, and with this we are concluding our lecture on types of map, types of scale.